This episode is sponsored by Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. May's featured entertainment includes Jamie Lissow on the 18th and Randy Houser on the 31st. Also enjoy special race day and Mother's Day buffets in the Skyline Terrace. Details and reservations at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Tony winner Brian Stokes Mitchell headlines Broadway in Bethesda this Saturday at Roundhouse Theater in Bethesda, Maryland. He joined me to reflect on his prolific stage career, as well as the state of theater in America and his overall philosophy on life. Hey, Brian Stokes Mitchell. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Jason. It's so good to be with you and with all your listeners here. And by the way, call me Stokes. That's what my friends call me. So we're friends today. So I'm Stokes.
Oh, well, I'm stoked to talk to Stokes. So we're throwing out Brian today. It's just Stokes Mitchell today.
Yeah, there we go. Too many Brians in the world.
All right. Well, there's not enough Brian Stokes Mitchells. Hey, we're telling everybody that you're coming to Roundhouse Theater in Bethesda for something cool called Broadway in Bethesda. It's going to be on Saturday, May 11th, so everybody get your tickets. Let's start with this event. How does it go down? Is it you performing a set? Is it black tie or is it is it fancy?
I don't know that this one is fancy, actually. I think it's probably, the world has gotten less fancy, thanks to our pandemic. I think, nobody wears fancy clothes anymore. So it's very rare that I'm wearing black tie. I always like to dress up nice because I'm the performer. But I kind of leave that up to the people what they want to wear when they come.
Well, more importantly, regardless of the attire, what sort of stuff are we going to hear? Are you able to tease the set list at least slightly?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people know me from Broadway, so I like to give people what they want, what they came to hear. So I give them a lot of Broadway tunes. But I was actually raised on all kinds of music. I was raised on standards. I was raised on jazz. I was also raised on Broadway tunes as well. So I like to mix my set up a lot and give people, just a really beautiful experience. For me, my main concern or my main idea or thought or thrust is I think of a theater performance or the theater in general like a church or like a good church anyway. And I feel that when you leave the theater, you should feel better than you did when you walked in. And especially now with these kind of trying times that we're in, not only post-pandemic, but with everything that's going on. You turn on the news and the world seems like it's going crazy. And what I want to do is kind of to reconnect us all to our joy space, our space where we can feel like we're all together, we're all one, we're all in this mess with each other and helping each other. And so when everybody leaves, we just feel a little more connected to ourselves, to each other, to the world, and those around us.
I love it. And you've mentioned the pandemic a couple times. We actually spoke to you. There's no way you'll remember this because you've probably done a million interviews, but we spoke to you in 2021. I think you were coming to Wolf Trap with Renee Elise Goldsberry. And
oh, right.
But it was in 2021, and I remember it was at the height of the pandemic. And I remember you talking about how you were throwing the window open and singing out of your apartment. Remind us about that.
Yes. Yeah, that was something that I did during the pandemic. I actually was one of the first people that I knew that contracted COVID. The only other person I knew who had gotten it was a playwright named Terrence McNally, who was a friend of mine. And he's an older gentleman and had some health issues, but he had also just died of it. And so, that was a time when there was no vaccine, when nobody knew what to expect. We didn't know what we were getting into. And I got this, and I finally got it. It was the worst thing I ever had. I finally got over it. And while I was recovering, my wife and my son in the front room, I heard all this noise coming out of the front room one evening at 7:00, and she told me that this New York City had started this wonderful tradition of just thanking all of the essential workers by stopping whatever you do. If you're in your car, you honk your horn. If you're outside, you scream and yell and clap. If you're in your in your window. You pound on pots and pans, and I couldn't wait to join them at a separate window, overlooking Broadway. I'm 5 stories above Broadway, and I just finally was able to join them. And then one day, as I was exercising my lungs trying to get this thing out of me, I just started spontaneously singing "The Impossible Dream" out my window, and everybody looked up and said, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then they clapped for me. And then the next day, there were a whole lot more people there, and it just became a thing. A neighbor taped it; it went viral, and it got to the point where on the weekends, particularly, there were probably near 1,000 people on the street, that came to hear me sing, and the cops would stop traffic. So, and now almost every day somebody stops me on the street in New York or even other cities because other people saw me online, and say, "Oh, thanks so much for what you did during the pandemic and singing out the window." And I never thought that a virus would cause me to go viral and cause something so positive to happen. Just a great lesson in life that we never know. What's in store for us.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for mentioning Terrence McNally. Rest in peace. I know he was influential early in your career, because I guess what your first Tony nomination, I guess, was it for Ragtime, which was, of
Yeah.
course, written with a book by Terrence McNally. Just memories of that performance. And yeah, and by the way, folks, I mean, you've done other stuff before, I guess, Mail and OK and Jelly's Last Jam and Kiss of the Spider Woman. Actually, that
Yeah,
might be another Terrence McNally.
also
Yeah,
written
there you
by
go.
McNally, by the way, because the Spider Woman was. Yeah, he and I had a long thing. Terrence was a spectacular human being, just really, really smart. One of the best playwrights I've ever met. He could write about anything, and just had this way of connecting what was happening on stage with just that human part of all of us. So one of the things that I love about the theater, and even doing a concert, and bring me back because I'm just going to go off a bit of a tangent here. But one of the things that I love about the theater is that is unique. It's about live performance. You're experiencing something that is happening in front of you, for you, only ever that one time in all of time and all of space. If you go to a movie, you're watching the same movie on the screen all the time. Depending where you sit on the theater, it looks the same, because it's in 2 dimensions. But in a live performance, if you're sitting in a balcony, you're seeing a different show than the person who's sitting up front in the left. And
Right.
then also the performer on stage, me in this case, is working from the energy of the audience. I'm because it's my show. I can sing what I want, say what I want, do what I want. So I'm really facile. It's never the same thing twice, and that's one of the things that I love about the experience of that. I was just at TED Talks, actually, doing a TED Talk with a friend last week, and it was really remarkable because there was so much information about AI and quantum computing and all of these things. And the talk that I did with Lear de Bessonet, who was a director here, and she did the talking part of it, was all about humanity and how we connect and how we need to be together in a live room experiencing that, because something greater than the sum of its parts happens when we're in a magical place like that. And it turned out that it seems, from what I'm gathering, that was maybe the favorite of all of the experiences of the 4 or 5 days of talks that we were doing there. There's just something really great about the theater, and that's what Terrence McNally, getting back to him, was a theater writer, and I think he knew that and understood that power.
Wow, very, very, very well said. And yeah, I'm fascinated. I mean, I know last time you joined us, we sort of went, we almost went through your all your credits and your win for Kiss Me Kate and all that stuff. But the folks can look that up in our archives if they want that first interview. But right now, if you don't mind, I'd rather focus on sort of these bigger, broader themes that you're talking about, because what
Love that.
your whole last answer was fascinating. So like. Yeah, like where are we? Where do you think the state of the theater is? You and I talked about the pandemic time with Terrence dying and you doing that singing out the window and all that. But like, do you think it's bounced back? Are we back in a healthy state, or are we still clawing our way back a little bit?
Well, I think, any place you look, whether you go to the market and you buy, a $10 banana or
Yeah,
whatever it is,
yeah.
we all seem to be clawing back there. We haven't hit a stability yet. And that's the theater as well. Broadway has come back in a way that we haven't seen for years now. And it's really great to go down to the theater district and to see so many tourists coming in town. But what I've learned is, like, the people that they call them the bridge and tunnel crowd here. They're the people that come over the bridges into Manhattan, like from New Jersey and Connecticut and some of the other boroughs. We're not getting so many people back on Broadway like we used to. And also, and this started with 9/11. People
Yeah.
used to buy tickets to the theater 6 months in advance
Yeah.
because they were so excited about it. And I think 9/11 first introduced the idea in people's heads. Well, you may not be here tomorrow, or Broadway or New York may not be here tomorrow.
Right.
And then the pandemic kind of exacerbated all of that. So people aren't buying tickets ahead of time like they used to, unless it's the huge hit that you have, if you're fortunate to do that.
Right.
So
Like a
Broadway,
Hamilton or something. Yeah. Like a
yes,
phenomenon that's sort
exactly.
of the
Yes,
exception to the
like
rule. Yeah.
exactly, or a big show like that. But there are, I think, which is also really spectacular. Every theater is filled this season with a new show, but also the new shows are very, very expensive. When I first did my first Broadway show about 35 years ago, Mail, that you had mentioned, I think the whole budget for that show was $650,000. Now a musical's costing about $25 million
And no one
to put
hardly
on.
uses the mail anymore.
Yes,
Now it'd be
exactly.
called email. No, now it'd be called tweet. Well, not even tweet.
Yeah.
X, whatever. Where are we?
Yeah, we're going. Aren't we moving ahead really quickly? It seems like as soon as you get used to one thing, it's
Yeah.
done. No, oh, we've moved on from that. You're old.
Yep.
You're a dinosaur now. But yeah, absolutely. But
Oh,
so anyway, it's Broadway. It's just like anything. We just kind of have to, and just like mail and email and tweets and all of that.
yeah.
We just kind of have to keep up with everything and just hope it doesn't leave us behind. But I think that the trick to life is the connections that we make, and the connections we make to those we love, to those that are around us, to the things that we do, to finding our passions in life, and especially what I think is really important, and I've been kind of putting this into my son's head, and I think he's learned it actually quite well, is there's a lot to not feel good about. If you're not feeling good, or if you're feeling down, if you're feeling depressed, go help somebody else. Be
Yeah.
of service to somebody. Go volunteer in your church or in your in a bread line that's feeding
Yep.
people, or whatever your skill is. I do believe that we are each on this planet for a purpose. We came here for something, and everybody's purpose is different, and the trick is to find it. There was a quote. It was attributed to Mark Twain, but it's not actually, and I don't know who said it, but I love the quote. The two most important days in a person's life are the day that they're born and the day they find out why. And I
Whoa.
just love that quote. Isn't that a beautiful quote? And I think that's the real trick to finding a happy life. Find out why you're here on the planet. And you first ask the question. I had a great voice teacher that we had more philosophical questions, I think, than we did scales. And one of the things he always said was, the question is more important than the answer. So one of the things is, hey, just ask to your universe, your God, whatever you name that, hey, help me find this, why am I here? And help me to fulfill my mission.
Wow. Wow. Well, we know the day you were born. Do you know the day specifically that you found out why? I mean, you were born on Halloween in 57.
Yes.
But do you know the
Yeah.
day? So that's the first part of that question. Do you know the second part of that? Do you remember specifically the day you found out why?
Yeah, it's kind of come in waves to me. It hasn't been a specific day, but I think I always had a sense of it. I never knew that I was going to be a professional singer when I was young. I thought, oh, I'm going to be a marine biologist. I had, my father worked for Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and I was raised around the ocean all my life and loved the ocean. And I thought, oh, that's what I'll do is I'll
You
be
and
a
you and
marine
George
biologist.
Costanza, the marine biologist.
Oh, was he a marine biologist
No,
as
no,
well?
there was an episode where he claimed to be a marine biologist, but he
Oh,
had to
I didn't
pull
know that. No, I
Kramer's
missed that
golf
one.
ball. He pulled Kramer's golf ball out of the blowhole of a whale one time. But anyway, I digress.
I,
Continue.
I just, I do that all the time. That's the fun part of life, I think, is going off on these tangents. I call them circular conversations. You
Yeah,
start one place and you go off on 50 tangents. Eventually, you end up at the beginning again.
yeah. The
So,
day we were talking about the day you found out what you wanted to do.
yeah, I've always noticed that there's a sense of thing. I call it my little thing that goes off now,
Yeah,
and when I do it, it's like a little vibration that's near my heart, and when I've come up against things or seen things, like when I first heard about this audition, or that they were doing this show called Trapper John M.D. I remember seeing it in a casting paper, and my little thing went off, and I thought, oh man, I'd love to do that. It's just like supposed to be an offshoot of MASH, and I love MASH, and I'd love to do that. And I ended up doing that as a series for 7 years, and Roots the Next Generations. When I got that, my little thing went off. My little thing went off when I heard about doing ragtime, when I was first told about it. I mean, it's a thing I've since learned, because I like studying other philosophies and religions as well, that there's something in Eastern philosophy around that exact area that I was feeling, that it's called your soul seat. And that is where your soul seat. Yes. And that is where your purpose of life basically is. And I thought, oh, when I read that, I only read that relatively recently that I learned that. And I thought, that's that thing that's been going off in myself all the time. And, I think here in Western culture, we say it's your heart. And I've always also said, man, if you can learn to listen to your heart and follow your heart, my heart has never, ever led me wrong. It's funny, because in life, there's all kinds of other body parts that are talking to you through the day, and sometimes it's your brain, sometimes it's nether regions, you never know. But one of the things that I've learned is, if you learn to listen to your heart and follow that, my heart has never led me wrong. And I think that's part of that soul seat thing. So I was young. I remember the very first performance that I did, which was Bye Bye Birdie, at San Diego Junior Theater, and I played Conrad Birdie. And I remember hearing the audience and feeling the audience applaud. And I remember feeling something like big happen to me. Also, when I was doing ragtime, when we did our first reading, something huge descended on the room that I could feel. After a while, you just get sensitive to it. But I think that anybody is capable of feeling that. All you have to do is make up your mind to tune into it and ask for that. And your life will lead you there. I think it tends to be those things that people are attracted to. Probably you were attracted to radio and connecting with people and having conversation, I would guess, when you were younger. And this is what you're doing now. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, I had a little toy microphone and, talking into it and, reviewing watching the Jungle Book on VHS or whatever, standing in front of the TV. Yeah, so I guess I've kind of always done this.
Yes.
But
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Even from an early age, when you kind of find your purpose in life, I think when you start looking back, you're going, oh, that's why I had that little microphone. That's why I was reviewing the Jungle Book for my other 8-year-old friends or whatever it was. That's why your life starts making sense to you when you look back. And I also like to say, life is like it's a sentence, but not like a jail sentence. It's like a sentence that you would write, but it's full of commas. And those commas are like, you can make a left-hand turn anytime in your life. If you don't like the way your life is going or the direction you're heading, you can put a comma in there and say, and then I, did this. And we can do that until that period comes. With the period is the day that you're off this planet and the day you're finished with whatever it is you came here for, and you're here to do your work. But that's, I think, what's incredible about life is it's full of commas, it's full of possibility, it's full of ways to connect with other people, to find your own purpose, to help the world move forward. And for me, I found doing concerts is really one of those things. It's my place where I really get to make this wonderful spirit happen, and I feel something bigger than me also that comes through me and connects with an audience and makes everybody else kind of filled with joy. And hope is the other word that I've been working on in my life now, and especially in my conscious. I want to give people a sense of hope. I think there's a lot of hopelessness right now. Again, when you turn on the news, I think the first thing is to turn off the news. Stop watching the news so much. There's other places. There's lots of places to get your news, but you don't have to be bathed in breaking news. Breaking news.
They're trying to rile you. They're trying to rile you up, right or left.
Yeah, that's their business. That's how they make money. They're not caring, that they're giving people ulcers and all kinds of
anxiety attacks.
Yeah, what they're trying to sell advertising. So understand that as well, and do the things that fulfill you, that make your life happy, and turn that stuff off and go out and help people. I really do think there are many, 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 many more good people with good intentions and trying to do good things. When I left the TED Talks, by the way, that I was saying that I was at 2 weeks ago, I left surprisingly with a sense of great optimism, because I've been like everybody else in the world. Oh my, everything
Yeah.
is just awful here. AI is going to take the world down. Robots are going to kill us all.
Right.
And leaving TED, I had this sense that look at all of these incredible people that are trying to make the world a better place, that are doing vertical gardening, that are fixing climate change, learning how to put carbon back into rocks, that are solving diseases, prion diseases and brain diseases, that are making quantum computing happen so that we can connect more people. And there were just thing after thing after thing after thing that was happening there. One of the people that sent the satellite to the sun now, and is studying that. Ways of ending world hunger, ways of making sure that everybody has water. People that are talking about world peace, and peace between Israel and Palestine. These difficult subjects that we're facing right now. And I left with a sense of hope, because I left there going, there are people that are working on this and are dedicating their lives to these problems. And they are about making everybody on the planet better, and the planet better, cleaning it up, getting rid of pollution, getting rid of the trash that we're dealing with. How do we do this? We have lots of problems, but we also have a lot of solution makers.
Wow, man. See, and this is the kind of stuff we're going to hear if we come out to Roundhouse Theater, folks. It's not only going to be amazing show tunes from the legendary Brian Stokes Mitchell. You're going to get a little life philosophy dropped on you. You're going to buy a ticket. When you buy a ticket to that seat, you might find your soul seat. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
This is great. Well, keep dropping those commas in your sentence. This show on May 11th is just going to be the next comma. It's been a great run, and keep adding phrases or whatever. I don't know what the dangling participles. I don't know what the grammar. But for you, it'll be the rest of us will end in a period, but yours will end in an exclamation point, my friend. You've had quite a run. Keep it going. I love it.
Oh, Jason, you too. Keep up the work you're doing. I just look forward to having people in this audience, and just all of us celebrating life and just being on this planet, and the miracle of being on this planet at the same time where we are, and just celebrating life together.
All right, Stokes, thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
See ya.
See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.